Hi, I'm Miguel Edwards, founder and CEO of FiveM Consulting LLC. We're a boutique management consulting firm specializing in insurance, technology, and operations. This is our YouTube series. We call it Intertech Mastery. We'll be discussing fascinating topics specifically around trends in the insurance industry, basic risk management, and executive leadership development. If you like these topics, hit the subscribe button. So now, let's get into today's topic, the untapped value of nearshore IT resourcing. Welcome to Intertech Mastery. Really looking forward to really diving deep into this concept that we've been talking about around nearshore operations. And you saw we did a blog post on it together, and I want to just further the conversation. That's what we're going to do here today. And I thought maybe just by way of some background, you could just give us a little bit around how you came to decide to move into this concept of nearshore IT solutions. You've got something of a target in the financial services industry, and just talk to us a little bit about why you went into that space.
Thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation, and I'm always happy to collaborate with you on any initiative that you might start. Pretty much lived in Mexico my life, except for a year that I spent in the U.S. when I was like 12 years old as an exchange student. And I've been around insurance pretty much all my life. My dad was an insurance broker. My first job was implementing a COBOL-based policy admin system on an HP 3000 or something like that back in 1985 or something like that. Around 2001, I became a partner of a company called Synapsis, which was an IT services company based in Mexico that provided solutions and services to financial services institutions. Mostly we had banks and insurance clients and factoring and those kind of things. And then something important that happened was that in the year 2000, Mexico had a big change in its government. And a guy named Vicente Fox became president of Mexico. When he became president, he named the IT outsourcing industry as one of the 7 key industries to be developed in Mexico. So he gave a mandate to the Ministry of Economy to set up a plan on how to develop that industry, because he saw that there was an opportunity being, next door neighbors. And since, you and I have talked about these before, Mexico is somewhere like the 12th, 13th economy in the world, even though most people don't know it. Right. And so what I'm trying to go to is that the market in Mexico for IT services had already been there for a while. Large companies like IBM, like Microsoft, like Oracle had already some sort of operations in Mexico. So there was already talent. We kind of came to a point where, okay, it seems like there's an opportunity for Synapsis to sell its services in the US, but somebody has to do that.
Right.
So we took that opportunity, and we decided to come to the US and give it a try for a couple of years. 2010, we started Ascend, and our first client was an insurance company. And we continued kind of growing in that space, and so it came to a point where I said, well, out of these 10, 12 years that I've been here, most of our clients are insurance clients. I kind of understand the business because of my background. So, and we see a very good opportunity in the mid-market, companies between $500 to $2 billion in revenue in that space, that have a lot of need for IT work because of regulation, because of all the reasons why insurance companies have a lot of requirements in upgrades, updates, all these things happening with mergers, acquisitions that they do. So they have spaghettis in technology and things like that, things that you have much more experience than me on that. So we said, you know what? I think insurance is kind of like where we should focus. It doesn't mean that we cannot provide services to other companies, but
Sure.
but this is an area that we feel more comfortable in. And of course, after 15 years of experience, or 18 years now of experience promoting this model of nearshore services for clients and seeing their success, relationships become long-term relationships, things like that we value. So we finally said, you know what, let's do that. So that's kind of like where the history comes from and where we are now.
Love that. No, thank you for that explanation. So as you start thinking about the value proposition that you're bringing to insurance companies with this nearshore concept, give me a little bit of a juxtaposition in terms of the whole nearshore versus offshore component. So what would you suggest are some key differentiators and just in general, not necessarily just with Ascend, but in general, why an insurance company would want to consider nearshore versus offshore? And perhaps even onshore. I think it's obvious for onshore, but kind of talk a little bit about that juxtaposition.
Well, I think that first of all, due to the lack of talent, or not lack, but the shortage of talent that there is, having another source is something very important. And nearshore has two big factors. One is cost, better cost than doing things onshore. And it's very convenient because you're pretty much having everybody in the same time zone or close to the same time zone. There's a lot of cultural affinity between US and Latin America, especially Mexico in this case, but the ease of communication, the language capabilities of the resources in Mexico, and the amount of talent that there's available in Latin America, I think it makes it very interesting and cost effective and low risk for companies to have a remote workforce providing services or providing work out of Latin America. So I think that's kind of like the most interesting parts of or the biggest value for any company, in this case especially insurance. Again, when we talk about mid-market, managing a team offshore, and you have more experience than me on that, requires a lot of effort, teams, people being available midnight, all those things that happen. And when you have a big company with a big team, it's if you're going to have 500, 400, 300 people in India or China or whatever, it's easy to justify having a team in the US to manage that team. But when you're looking at teams of 20, 30, 40 people, having a layer of people to manage that, it becomes like a very difficult thing to do. So when again you have the resources in your same time zone and they're able to join the calls, to join the meetings, to even to travel or whatever, makes it much more easy to manage.
I remember when we first chatted, and you actually introduced me to the concept of nearshoring. I was, very, very familiar, obviously, with offshoring. I had offshore teams, and I remember being up late at night myself on calls with people just so that I could be on their time zone. But you introduced me. And I also, too, remember the conversation. And I got to admit, I'm a little embarrassed about how naive I was in that conversation. I don't know if you remember, but I was worried about things like language, like political risk, like crime, just general stability in Latin America, Mexico in particular. And you had to re-educate me. You had to reorient me around what that really meant, what it looked like. Is that a kind of a typical concern that you get when you're talking to potential customers, and you kind of talk a little bit about your talk track in trying to reorient people's thinking to what Latin America actually looks like. And really, by the way, I'm also pretty embarrassed because yo soy panameño. I'm from Panama. Like, this is my background, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just so that naivete was really fascinating for me to overcome. Talk a little bit about that.
Every time since I started here in the US doing that in 2005 or a little bit before that, and up to now, always the first thing to talk about is, I mean, Mexico is known for tacos, tortas, beaches, music, good food, etc. But nobody sees. It's not known that there's a business, a large business environment, and I'm talking about Mexico. But if you put together all the countries in Latin America, you're looking at a huge amount of people, and countries that have, like Mexico, had presence of global companies over the years. They also do that. They also have large telecom, large banking, large insurance. I mean, everything you can think of in terms of industries, it's there. Thing is, it's a little bit, how do you say, like spread in many countries that are small. You have the big players, like Brazil or like Mexico with over 100 and over 200 million people. But then you have all these little countries that have 20, 30 million people or whatever, but they do have an important business. And, like you mentioned, you had a concern about crime. And I was like, okay, but why are you concerned about crime? You're not going to have to be there.
Yeah.
And honestly, in all these years, just as it happens in the US, I've had people that got their laptops stolen from the car or things like that do happen. And of course, if you go to big cities like Mexico City or like Sao Paulo or something like that, of course, sure, if you look at the crime rates, they're going to look big because they have a huge population. But I've shared with you statistics on homicide rates on cities like Mexico City or Guadalajara compared to New Orleans,
Chicago,
Baltimore, Chicago, or whatever. And honestly, those things are not really very different. And again, you're not going to have to go there.
Right.
Of course, there's people that say, no, but I want to have a delivery center and I will need to travel and I'll need to go there. Yeah, I agree. I agree you would probably have to do that if you're going to set a large operation. But
sure.
But when we're talking about mid-sized projects, and with the experience that now we have after COVID and with the availability of all these tools to video conferencing and high capacity internet and everything services, I mean, really the need for traveling has become zero. Mexico is graduating anywhere between 65 to 100,000 IT related graduates per year. And in that scale, if you go to Guatemala, you go to Panama, you go to Costa Rica, to all these countries, you will have that too. And you will also have the IBMs and the Walmarts and the HPs doing business in those countries. So, you'll find great talent.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a little bit of a great advantage or fortune, especially in my last role where you and I partnered, where for the first time I was running an IT organization that spanned multiple Latin American countries. So I got to see it firsthand. And in fact, one of the things that was so eye-opening to me was the incredible investment that governments are continuing to make in churning out that level of IT talent. And in places like Mexico and places like Costa Rica, you're seeing that that there's actually this massive investment from larger companies, Infosys and HP and all of these big companies that are investing in IT talent in these countries. And I wouldn't have seen it myself with my own eyes had I not had to travel to visit my teams that were located in those areas. So I'm glad that I got to round the curve, not only just with you, but only in my own experiences and seeing the incredible investment. Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is I got to believe that there are companies that are considering on their own, as part of their own organizations, building nearshore operations in Latin American countries, especially as you think about kind of India is actually becoming not cost competitive anymore. The labor rates and the turnover, it continues to be a challenge there, and so folks are looking for additional options. What do you say to, and what kind of advice do you give to a company that has the wherewithal, has the financial wherewithal and the scale to launch a nearshore operation? What kind of advice do you offer to a company like that wants to invest in their own operation?
It's got to be an initiative that brings all the different areas of a corporation into the project, into the idea. So you need people on the legal, on the HR, on the finance. It's if you're going to set an operation, pretty much you have to set up a legal entity, and that legal entity is going to have to be tied to you. So
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, so what exactly are you trying to accomplish? If you're going to do development, if you're going to do business process work, if you're going to do just support, and then you have to then look at the countries, and first of all, you have to look at the talent availability for what you are specifically looking at doing. So, once you have that, you need to go to the place and partner with somebody local that can guide you and that can, present you with government officials. Because, when a company decides to open a facility in a city, like the example I have that I lived by myself was Guadalajara in Mexico. Opening a center for Perot Systems in Guadalajara was a big thing for the Guadalajara community and for the Guadalajara government. So, there's a lot of incentives for that.
Got it. Yeah, big, huge undertaking, and I guess just it makes the case to leverage a company like yours that already has the infrastructure, that already has the recruiting pipelines, et cetera. That it makes that case. It's kind of fascinating. As you think about the future, and you think about the future of IT trends, the future of insurance. What are you seeing, and what are you preparing for in your organization to be ready for that future? What types of things are you watching out for?
Well, I mean, I think that there's no question about how much the needs for people, for talent, are growing continuously, and the pace that the world is generating IT talent is far away from that. So I was looking at a study done by Korn Ferry, and they're predicting that by 2030 there's going to be a shortage of about 85 million jobs worldwide. So once again, I think that for companies to consider where are you going to get the talent from, having the nearshore strategy as part of your toolbox is going to be very important to mitigate the problem of not finding the talent. On our end, what we started doing pretty much 12 months ago, 13 months ago, was we were very Mexico centered. and we started, sourcing some positions in countries like Peru, Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even you've heard this before, Venezuela,
Mm.
um, and and the results are very good. Lately, we're talking to people from Uruguay, from Argentina, from Colombia, from Panama,
Mm-hmm.
and and so, I guess what we are recommending people to do, which is adding nearshore as something you are capable of doing, we are doing the same.
Yeah, got it. So, along those lines, as you're looking to source, talent and I guess diversify what that looks like, um, everyone's talking about AI. And everything is AI, 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 right? And to what extent are you thinking about certain technologies and specializations, and how's that factoring into your business strategy to kind of keep up with specific technology demands and certain skill sets? Is that play into your roadmap at all?
Platforms that have uh, shortage of talent in the US are going to have shortage of talent
Right,
everywhere.
right,
So in our case, we are trying to learn more about the business of our clients and learn more about what they're trying to do. We've talked and we've seen, for example, using Salesforce, using Guidewire, using all these insurance related platforms, where we will have to prepare talent for. Um, but again, it has to be based on what we see our clients are looking for, are looking into, or need to do. So it's always challenging to go into a nearshore model, trying to get cutting edge technology, because
yeah.
cutting edge technology usually starts here and then
Mm-hmm.
it starts spreading out.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that, and thank you for that transparent view, because it is a challenge here. And in fact, I find that it's a challenge, especially in the insurance industry, because we're not necessarily the most forward industry out there, and so just getting the right kind of thought processes around some of this innovation has been challenging. Share with me, Danielle, if you could, a success story. Talk a little bit about, obviously, if you can, if you can't, that's fine around naming the customer. But talk a little bit about, in broad terms, a challenge that a customer came to you with, and how you solve that problem for them using the capabilities that you bring to the market.
I'll say that it's a car insurance company that was started in the late 90s, 1999,
Mhm.
2000, around that time. They went on building all their software, building all their platform for selling mostly online uh, car insurance. And by 2004, something like that, they ventured into the idea of outsourcing part of the development work offshore. And that didn't go very well. There was a lot of communication issues, and it was an initiative that was about to be, wrapped up and forget about it. And we had the opportunity to approach them to do part of that work nearshore. So I think one of the key things, and you will, I guess you will confirm that, is that in this case, a CIO has to have buy into the idea and the leadership's capability to convince his team to, okay, you were working with just US based people, now you're going to work with offshore people, and now you're going to say no, it's not going to be all offshore, it's going to be also near shore people. And so, the challenge was huge for these gentlemen. And but you know he listened to us and he said, okay, let's do a pilot. Let's get these three, 4 guys come, knowledge transfer, and spend a month with us, and then let's see if it pans out. That team grew to about 100 people. By the time this was up to 100 resources, this company was saving probably anywhere between $7 to $10 million a year on that group.
Wow.
And so I guess it was, I would say, it's very successful.
You said something when you were describing that that reminded me of something that I had to think about it, and I would just share, I guess, from my own expertise. I learned that, particularly with your team, one of the most critical factors of success for us was culturally integrating your team with ours. It was one IT organization, as opposed to throwing it over the fence at the offshore, their nearshore team, and let's see what they do with it. And actually, your leader, I actually had in my staff meetings and was part of the leadership team to ensure that she had connectivity into everything that was going on. And so, I guess, just my own contribution to this conversation for anyone listening and considering this is really that importance of creating that cultural alignment. You can't have a dividing line and expect it to work well. It has to be fully integrated culturally, technologically, down to the software that they're using. They were on our email platform. They use our email addresses, and it was basically it looked like just another employee of mine. So, Daniel, I want to just wrap up with one last question. Just first off, what you think about your horizon, kind of what's next for your firm? What can we be thinking about, as we watch ascend and, kind of what do you think? What's coming next for you?
We want to learn more because, it's impossible to know everything in anything, but we want to learn more about, we're trying to learn more about the industry and the industry needs. Mm-hmm. I said expanding into other countries. Mm-hmm. So we are able to, combine people from all these different countries in Latin America. I think it's one of the most important things we can do to grow our capabilities of providing talent. Mm-hmm. And the other part is, now that we're setting up a team with Salesforce, we have been working for a couple of years already with Guidewire, things like that. We are looking into partnering more with those type of companies, to help their clients and to also learn more about, their platforms and their things.
Daniel, again, I can't thank you enough for this, not only just for doing this with me, but, you've been a 2-time partner of mine. We worked at 2 different companies together. You were a significant lever of success for me in the work that I had to do. So this is hopefully a continuation of our partnership as we move forward in our respective paths. And again, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure I'm going to see you again real soon, especially at the next conference where we always run into one another.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Like I said, always a pleasure collaborating with you. You're one of those forward-thinking leaders that this world needs. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks again to my good friend Daniel Gonzalez, and thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more. If there's a particular topic you'd like me to discuss, leave it in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.